And now back to your regular programming.
If you speak better to yourself.
You showed up for probably the dumbest conversation we've ever had on this show.
Let's have that smile again.
Tell me how that happens. Physically should not happen.
Relax.
If you say it
Give me as well.
3 times a day, God will line it up.
He's just an absolute hack, and he gets his ass kicked by the teammates every week. It's just terrible.
Welcome back to Hack City. Joe DeLeone, Sean Anderson, 2 former college football players from the University of Rhode Island, and today we are going to be sharing the results for our FCS football road trip that we're going to be doing this season. We've done South Dakota State twice. We, for some reason, ended up at Campbell. And today we have a really exciting announcement on where we're going to be heading during the FCS season for a really exciting potential matchup. We're also going to be reacting to the lists dropped for the Walter Payton Award Watchlist, as well as the Buck Buchanan, some of our thoughts and some of the players that we think have the best chance to win either award. Sean, before we get to that, can you share a word with our listeners about BetOnline?
Yeah, of course. As a big gambling degenerate and fan of sports, I use BetOnline to gamble on some preseason football this weekend, which is... It's pretty low, it's not real deal football. Why couldn't you wait a couple weeks? Because I love the game, and I love the hustle, and I love the sweat, and I love using BetOnline as my gambling preference for apps, however you want to call it. Head to the website today, get in on the action with us. All season we'll be betting on BetOnline. Use promo code BLEAV, that's BLEAV, for your 50% free bet credit on your first deposit up to $250. BetOnline, the game starts here.
Can you lower me a little bit in my ears? So as I said that we've got the results for the visit. I gave a little bit of a prelude on Twitter after the voting ended. First of all, thank you to all the fans who took this very seriously. But our good friends that are the South Dakota State Jackrabbit faithful, they were aggressive in trying to send us to Western Illinois in the middle of nowhere in Illinois. And no shade to Western Illinois. They haven't exactly been super competitive. And I also looked at a map. There doesn't happen to be much going on near that campus. Now, I was kind of looking forward to it because of the fact that it would have been the easiest to travel to somehow.
Right.
Half the distance of where we're going to end up going. But when I was tallying this, I was disturbed because the whole time I thought that Western Illinois was going to win this. I had a couple people comment, or one person commented, "Did you get Campbelled again?" And I really thought that we were going to get Campbelled again. And one thing, as I said, the results for how many people voted, so much more interaction than we've had in the past. We had a head coach of North Alabama even chime in and invited us to come be a coach,
guest coaches, watch some film, a very nice offer. We even finally the CAA recognized us after 4 years with a.
Oh, I got a note for them in a second. Yeah. Okay, so all right, I'm gonna read quickly here some of the back end of the results. Coming in tied for last place, we have Richmond, Lindenwood, Houston Christian, and also, by the way, anyone who sees the post on Twitter knows who won this, so there's no suspense being built up. There's no big reveal coming at the end of this. You know that we're going to Montana, which I forgot. But see, I told myself ahead of time, thinking to myself, oh, I should do this backwards read, and then it occurred to me, I'm going to end up posting on Twitter on Monday what the result was, so It doesn't freaking matter. But to quickly go through the results, last place tie was Richmond, Lindenwood. Houston Christian did horrible this year. Drake, Sac State, and Northern Arizona tied for second to last. Jackson State, Murray State, Eastern Tennessee, NCA&T, Samford, SIU. After that, it was tied Bryant, Weber State. Delaware Nichols had the same amount of votes. Central Arkansas, Northern Colorado, VMI were also tied. And then above them, North Dakota State and Wofford. Above them was Mercyhurst with 7.
Yeah.
7th or wherever they ended up being.
I think those are the Reddit FCS guys jumping in on it.
Yeah, it was. The CAA pulled 8 votes for the CAA. They wanted to contribute to this, and their quote tweet of me was, "I would hope that you guys pick a CAA school." That's not a vote. So on the list is, the CAA accumulated more votes than it should have. finished way too highly. Austin P was above them. Walk on Apparel commented like 10 schools in one tweet, and I wasn't going to separate those. That got a bunch of votes. Rhode Island did decently well. Northern Alabama, as I mentioned, the head coach. And then here are the real results. Here was where the huge pack of voting ended up being. There's a pretty big separation. Montana State rallied, but not as much as they usually do. Prairie View A&M, I was excited. I thought that would have been a really cool trip.
They rallied.
Yeah.
Prairie View A&M, their online presence this bout of voting was impressive.
Southeastern Louisiana was ahead of them. Idaho, another year of falling and finishing in second or third place. Western Illinois with a disturbing amount of votes. 34% of the votes. Idaho had 5%. 34% of the votes. 100 less than the winner of Montana, who ended up with 40.5% of the voting power. Yeah, I'm glad that we actually get to go somewhere entertaining. I will say I appreciate this because last year we, for some reason, sparked the ire of a lot of Montana fans because for parts of the voting for Stats Perform FCS poll, we weren't super bullish on them. I was at the beginning, and then I kind of cooled off and then came back around on them. You were always really low on them. I am very intrigued to find out how we are going to be received. I think we have an original listener base when we first started doing this show that likes us.
Yeah.
I think there are some new listeners who do appreciate us, but I think that there also are some folks who definitely do not like you specifically and then lumps me in with you.
Yeah, at one point last season, I had people in my personal life asking me, hey, what's going on with you in Montana? I keep on seeing this. Did you do something to them? I said no. I had them ranked at 17 for a week, and that was not sufficient for them. And the whole time, I said, when they show me something, I'm not afraid to rank Montana high. And I had them jumping up into the top 10, top 5 in subsequent weeks. But I was like enemy number one for a
That's an understatement.
Yeah,
that's an understatement.
So it was not. It's been nice going to South Dakota State where we'll be walking around, a beer in the hand, and people say, "Oh, Hack City, what's up?" And that's that feels good. It was nice at Campbell having some people flag us down. Montana, it could be, oh, look at those jerks. Look at this. Oh, wait, what do you want? You want some free food? F off. We're not tailgating with you.
Yeah, we're not going there with the expectation that there's going to be some sort of red carpet rolled out to us. No, we kind of appreciated that the last 3 trips, we kind of just bounced around, and anyone who did recognize us, we're always down to catch up, say hi, chat it up.
Yeah.
South Dakota State has definitely been the best about welcoming us because Chad, Brendan, the whole book club, all of those guys. Is it called the book club?
Jackrabbit Book Club. That's
okay,
right.
I thought I had that wrong.
Tailgating by the library.
They have always been super welcoming. They've brought us literally into their tailgate. They went out with us the night prior.
We've been in their
last
car.
year.
Yeah.
We were in their car.
Yeah, so I think we're pretty easy to be friends with. But
J.A. Campbell also, we were in his car too. So
what are we doing, man?
We're going to get kidnapped this year. We were offering up there, like, hey, if you come pick us up, we'll just get in your car. You can kill us.
Yeah, there's that Twitter meme. Dahmer would have crushed in this generation. He definitely would have if we were doing this back then. You kidding me? We barely know these people, but we shared a beer, and now everyone's buddy. Hopefully that could continue. That has been like the most for me. It's been the most fun part about the trips is getting to meet the fans, experience how they are in their fandom, why they love the team, how they tailgate, how they root for their school, why they do it. Like, that's always fun because the FCS fans are genuine like sports football fans because it's FCS football. You're not playing for the national championship against Alabama. So you just love this school, you love the community. So getting to know all the people that we have has been fantastic. Hopefully the Montana faithful can be open-minded about us coming.
And on a more we're obviously kind of joking about it because there's always that small bucket of like 10 people that are angry. I think everybody else is going to be pretty welcoming because we've got tons of consistent listeners that send us personal messages and stuff that like us and like the show. Anyone who has any recommendations of where we should go for food, any bars that they think we should go to, if either of you, anyone wants to grab a beer? I had Big Iron has been hitting me up and saying that if we ended up at the UC Davis game, he's a Montana State fan. He said he might try to go to the game so that he could link up with us. Anyone who has any recommendations or anything, let us know. We're excited about the trip. I'm excited to see that stadium with that amazing backdrop, to get to see the amazing football program that they have. It's been a bucket list for me, and I'm just glad that it was a premier program like this that we get to check out.
Yeah, all jokes aside, Montana, and then especially it for college football fans, it has been billed as a place that you need to see. And it is just, I'm excited about that. It'll be nice and warm in November there, right? Like we'll be.
I don't even think we know what we're getting ourselves into.
No, it's gonna be. Hey, welcome. You want a nice cold beer? No. Do you have a piping hot cider or just boiling water? I'd take that at that point.
Irish coffee, man. That's what you got to be drinking to get yourself. Yeah, we should probably buy some Baileys. Well, you don't drink coffee because you're a weirdo.
I just don't like the flavor of coffee. I don't like the taste.
Is there any tea-based? You're gonna look like such a loser drinking tea-based. Because what is there? I can't even think. Are there any cocktails that got like warm tea?
I could do like a hot sake.
Hot sake. Wait. Warm tea cocktails. Let's really quickly look up. Does anyone know any cocktails with hot tea?
I mean,
the r/ cocktails. Hold on one second. We're gonna move on in one.
I mean, you have the Christmas ciders that are nice and hot. Like
this guy is literally
Wassail's
just saying,
good.
just pick any booze and then dump it in the tea. That's okay. I guess that answers our question.
And that's more my style, anyways. I don't need any garnish. It's just let's just mix two things together, nice and simple.
Final thought on this before we get into the awards watch lists. I was a little upset with Sean with the stupidity that he had, because we were talking as the voting was going on. I was like, oh, can you post it on Reddit? Or you had offered it up. And then I pulled up said Reddit post, and Sean framed it as, hey, me and my good friend like to go on trips to FCS stadiums. Do you have any recommendations? That was how he framed it. And then he linked the tweet at the end of it. FCS football knows who we are.
Yeah, look.
And the first comment was, "This is Hack City. We know who you are."
I know. So that was a bit of a blunder, but also what I need to do, I need to fix my Reddit username, because I don't really want to be like, oh, here's Sean Anderson and it's Smoke Chan on Reddit, like a big weeb loser. Like I'll update it.
We know you're a frequenter in r/hentai.
Hey, this isn't the show for that. That's for the upcoming streams.
All right, let's get into talking about these watches. Montana fans, though, we're excited. We're going to see you guys in November. So, Walter Payton Award, Watchlist, Buck Buchanan were dropped last week. Craig Haley put those out. Good friend of the show. The Walter Payton for the best player in FCS football, the Heisman of FCS. Last year, Mark Gronowski, the quarterback for South Dakota State, won the award, and he is back for the Jackrabbits. He tops the list. I think it's pretty easy to say that he is going to be the premier player. I appreciate that Craig put 3 offensive linemen, which I don't recall that being like that in the past. Maybe it was, and I just don't remember it. It's fun. We're not going to mention any of those guys. Gronowski stood out to me. Cam Miller, of course, in North Dakota State, their quarterback, stood out to me. I think a really underrated one is Zach Calzada, who was the former Texas A&M quarterback.
Yeah.
I keep coming back to, I know that he wasn't good enough to stick at an SEC program and start. But we need to remember he was the starting quarterback in the game that Texas A&M beat Alabama a few years ago. That was a game that literally bought Jimbo Fisher more time than he should have been given.
Yeah.
And I think for how long he's been playing, he's a great name to pay attention to on this award list.
I would say so. And Incarnate Word, it's been nice getting familiarized with you and the quarterbacks that you've been rolling out lately. They have been impressive, and they are becoming a QB machine. You know what? I think Gronowski is probably the favorite. I thought he was good 2 years ago. I thought he was great last year. And I'm really excited to see what he could do this season. It felt like the game, and this goes for Calzada also. I think the game started opening up for him more, where they started really seeing and feeling how it goes. For Walter Payton, though, I key in on the running backs this year. I really love Land Larison at UC Davis. Last year, 1,300 yards of scrimmage, 15 touchdowns. I think he gets that again easily. he's a hard runner that doesn't give an F on the outside. And if you're a bit taking a bad angle on him, you're just going to miss the tackle. You will, unless you're squaring up and really just going for a legit tackle, he's gonna break your ankles or he's gonna run through you. And then I think your guy last year, Jamar Curtis, he had a great season. He was mentioned on the list this year as well.
Yep.
And he had
comes
some.
back.
He was. I forgot how much of a big game player he was.
He was a big reason why Lafayette was.
He pushed him in the
games
top
that they had.
25.
Yeah.
He had.
And they're still in the top 25 for that reason that
Yeah.
he's coming back. I'm surprised that somebody didn't try to pick him off and try to bring him up, and maybe they did, and he decided to stick around. It's great that the God, what is their mascot? Are they the Leopards? Why am I having a brain thought? Let me look it up. Continue your point.
But yeah, I like Curtis last year. He had 230 yards and 2 touchdowns against Holy Cross, and they were a good team last season. 200-yard game against Fordham.
The Leopards.
And then in the playoffs, he went for 130 and 3 touchdowns against Delaware and made that game way closer than it should have been. Delaware should have swept Lafayette away. They didn't. I really think Curtis could have a huge year and be in the final voting for him.
I was really shocked. One guy that didn't make the list, and to be perfectly clear, whenever I point out somebody who doesn't make a list in these situations, it's never like, oh, this is a crappy list because this player isn't on there.
Yeah.
I'm sure that there was good reasoning. Eli Gilman, who won the Jerry Rice Award last year, the Montana running back, who is fantastic. He was a player who burst onto the scene, and Montana's success was because of how good he was for them. I really think that I wouldn't even consider him a sleeper. I would actually probably pick him to be a favorite. I really think that Gilman is going to be why they are at the top. And I mentioned this last week when we did our top 25 show. If they finish in the top 5 again, top 3 again, like I was projecting, I even was aggressive enough to say they're tied for me with North Dakota State for how good they are. Gilman's success on the ground is going to be why they continue to play at this level.
Well, Gilman became he made that offense more balanced, and it made defenses have to respect the run. He went for like 1,000 yards, 12 touchdowns last year. It was a great season. And that offense was good, and they had players, but it's football. At the end of the day, you need to have a balanced offense. You could do an air raid, but eventually you have to have a defense respect the run. He made other teams do that, and also he's super talented. But it's not like Montana guys are getting left off the list. Junior Bergen made it, and I mean he should. He's the dynamic, scary weapon for Montana. I do agree with you. I think both of them should have made it, but you can't put everybody on it. But I think they definitely could have missed out on maybe Gilman off. But it's a good list, Joe. I mean, there's a lot of good players.
But random side tangent, Gilman's little brother committed to Montana. Monty Gilman. I was doing a quick Google search to confirm that I didn't like screw up here and there's some injury that I missed or something that always catches us, that always bites us in the ass. He did an interview the other day with Nick Osmo talking about the running back room, so things seem fine. MontanaSports.com's got some interesting ads going on at the bottom here.
Oh, easy now. You don't want to out yourself.
No.
Those are
the sponsor. That was the sponsored content. That was not the. Okay, don't you dare.
I'm not trying to. I'm not. I didn't even say what the content was. Watch that finger.
It wasn't anything problematic. It was a bunch of ads for weird games that looked like whatever. All right, back to what we were talking about. I also Connor Watkins, CJ Montez, East Coast quarterbacks. Fordham has always had great quarterback production. Connor Watkins was unbelievable last year for Villanova, and I think with a lot of that just core of offensive weapons that they have is going to be a reason why Villanova is the top CAA team for me this year.
I think they have the best quarterback in the CAA. He belongs on it, at least for the mention. I mean, this is like a rough, first team. If we could just compile the best 35, that's what we're looking at. I'd tell you, who I was happy that made it? Javen Watley from Chattanooga, the wide receiver. I really liked him last season. He's fast. He's instinctive, knows how to manipulate defensive backs. And it's going to be hard for a wide receiver to win it, especially when the quarterbacks and running backs are so stacked. But I was glad that he got some recognition because, it's Chattanooga at the end of the day. It's not one of the major name brands. And I know they had their day a while ago, but I'm just glad to see that they're still getting some good players and weapons.
On the Buck Buchanan side for the best defensive player in the country, Adam Bach is the one premier player at the top who feels like he's been playing football since 2005 for South Dakota State. On top of this, there's three other players that I think will be in this conversation at the end of the year. David Walker from Central Arkansas, who is a game-changing pass rusher. He has high grades coming into the NFL. He is going to get drafted probably somewhere in the top 200, top 150 picks. Low to the ground, very powerful, has a nice spin move. Rex Connors from UC Davis, the safety, is somebody I've been banging the table for constantly. He is so underrated just from like the national perspective, from the college football perspective, from the draft perspective. Great coverage, great instincts, great tackler. He comes downhill hard. He is premier for that UC Davis defense. And then the last one, Cole Wisniewski, who at North Dakota State, built like a linebacker, plays defensive back, plays that free safety role, plays over the top, and can cover a lot of field. Kind of like the FCS Kyle Hamilton. He's not the same level of athlete of Kyle Hamilton, but is another dude who is going to get a lot of NFL love just because of how rare of a player and how rare of a build he has for playing the safety position. I'm a total dork when it comes to this. I'm a height, weight, speed guy. So when I see a 6'4" safety, you can bet your ass I'm going to be saying, hey, this dude is going to make some noise, and he's going to be a big issue in his conference this year.
Yeah, those three were my top three as well. Wisniewski was interesting.
I think it's Wisniewski.
Wisniewski was interesting because it felt like he was the Mike of that defense, and he was playing safety. Like, he was the field general. At least that's what I was seeing. I know the scheme, and the Mike is the Mike. We don't really change that. Football can be binary in that sense, but with the tone of the defense, how everyone was moving around, it felt like he was really controlling how the defense was operating. And then David Walker, he's probably the favorite in my opinion. He's like the golden ratio of defensive ends when it comes to just size, speed, bend. 6'3", 260 is what he's listed at. That's a nightmare for an offensive tackle because your offensive tackle is normally never going to be shorter than 6'4", right? Like, you're just not going to see it's 6'4" to like 6'10". Mm-hmm. So if you have that, it was always easier for me dealing with a taller defensive end because they couldn't get underneath me and light me up and hit me under the chin. Whereas Walker, he has the built-in low leverage. He's strong as hell. He's fast, and his bend is insane. The spin move is great, but him being able to be 6'3", make himself like he's 6 foot, ridiculous. So I'm really high on him. And then Bach is great. You know, I've sung
easy name to bring up every time in these conversations.
He's the bloodhound for the ball carrier. He just looks the part, plays the part of a traditional fearless middle linebacker, and I'm always going to appreciate that. And I know on a defense, I loved having a real linebacker behind me that knew what he was doing, and I knew that I could rely on him. He's the safety net. He's the guy that's first to the ball. I'm really high on these three guys. I think if I had a 3 ranking, and I know you didn't do it, but I'd probably go Walker, Bach, then Wisniewski.
Wow, you butchered that poor kid's name. Although I can't call him a kid. He's been playing football for 6 years, and he's only like a couple years younger than us, which is still continually weird.
Yeah.
Still so weird. I really think that if there was to just make a pick, David Walker is going to put up some gaudy pass rush stats. So easy low-hanging fruit. He's going to put up some dumb numbers to go with there. Anyone else before we wrap up here?
I did like O'Shea Baker from UT Martin. He's a cornerback, and here's the thing about FCS cornerbacks, and you're going to have to learn, if you're playing defensive back in the FCS, you're not afforded the luxury of not tackling. And some guys figure that out early, and some guys play for 4 years and they don't figure it out, and then they don't go to the NFL, or they don't have any prospects after playing. Why is that? Oh, because you're in the FCS and you're not tackling. Baker, different than that. Does all the defensive back stuff right, but not afraid to tackle violently, which I love. I love seeing a guy that understands the role. Hey, every game is a tryout. Every game is an audition. I'm going to show every tool in my toolbox, and he does that. So I was happy to see him get some recognition.
Well, that's going to be it for this FCS pod. More coming in the upcoming weeks. Montana fans, we'll see you in November.
Get ready.